climate crisis is here, and we have to react immediately. So it's not unthinkable. It's a reality, and culture must play a central role. And I want to be a bit
What's your definition of culture, though?
I want to become a bit more specific. We actually need to pass a message to every person in the world. We still have global leaders, head of states, that do not believe in the climate crisis. So taking advantage of culture, of the creative industries, of cinema, documentaries, movies, even video gaming, every aspect of culture, adding to what you were saying before, is absolutely necessary to pass the message to every person in the world. You said before that we have 2 years
Not me, Simon Steele said that.
Simon Steele said that to save the planet. So when we have such a limited time frame, I think that we all understand the necessity to respond immediately. And culture-based climate action actually gives us this opportunity. It doesn't only work complementary to education, it works, it's absolutely necessary because it has the ability to reach the message to every person on the globe.
But do the largely farmers in your constituency, do they understand what you're talking about? You know, you are a government minister and making a very important point about how many politicians understand this. But it's also about the bottom up, because politicians have to be elected.
I was making the point before we started the discussion that in Greece, at least in my constituency, I'm elected in Corinth, which is an agricultural constituency, agriculturally region. The first people that actually press the politicians about taking action on the climate crisis are the farmers. And that has to do because they are the first ones that actually see their everyday life changing. The way their parents were farming is completely different from the way that they are farming. And they do press for more action from the government, but also from the civil society in order to take action to deal with the climate crisis. They might not be capable of completely comprehending the magnitude of the problem at a global stage, but they do understand that it does affect and it does impact their everyday life. So they do press politicians to take action. They might not know exactly what the action is, but that is where the role of the state comes and of the government to lead and take action in order to deal with the climate crisis.
Well, let me pick this up, Ed, right at the beginning about the lack of willingness of the political class, largely, not everywhere, to get engaged in this. How can this practically be achieved in the time scale that's necessary? And that's why I quoted Simon right at the beginning, not because he said it yesterday, but because of 2 years. You know, this is not 20 years, this is 2 years. 2 years is well before 2030 as well. You're a politician. How can this be achieved?
What I said before is that some global leaders do not believe in climate change, but the reality is that most of them do believe, and there is political willingness, but it's too little and too late to be accurate. So this is a global challenge. Obviously, we need a global and a common reaction from all of the countries, and especially the larger, more influential countries at an international status. But in the end of the day, if we don't have as a common global reaction, we will all face the consequences, which are already devastating. So the key is to have a specific commitment for every country. We need monitoring of these commitments, and as soon as possibly. And what we are trying to pass with this panel is that culture can play a very important role, both in passing the message to all of the society, but also in shifting the paradigm. So for me, this is extremely important. Perhaps it has been underused in the last decades from the global community, and it's good that the civil society comes up front, but it's absolutely necessary that the governments across the world now take immediate action. Regarding COP29, the Greek initiative started more than 4 years ago, and this is exactly what we intend to do. We want global commitment and action taken, and our goal for COP29 in Baku is a joint work decision, which will actually help in the direction of committing governments for very specific action.
Right, a politician here. How much do you respond to artists and the voices who are not normally lobbyists, who are now becoming far more vocal on this issue?
I think that some politicians do respond to artists, but we could have seen even more artists, as you say, talking about important global issues.
So they've got to mobilize.
Like the climate crisis. Yes, but of course, at the same time, we would like to see more and more politicians understanding the role that civil society and artists can have in lobbying such issues, and how important it is to actually utilize them to pass the message to all of the society. So I wouldn't say that all politicians never respond. Okay, we do have great politicians around the world as well. We have to note that. But it would be necessary to unite forces with artists and everybody that can pass the message about the climate crisis.
Well, let me ask Alex.
We need a joint work decision, and there, of course, Azerbaijan must play a central role in reaching the joint work decision in order to be capable of introducing culture as an important pillar in the Paris Agreement, despite any result in the US presidential election. Now, on the bigger picture, it's absolutely necessary increasing very much funding in research, innovation, and technology, and at the same time, introducing important financial incentives for polluters, but also important sanctions. We need practical solutions, we need them immediately, and I do agree that we must introduce financial incentives much more evidently to the global society and the global community.
Thank you very much indeed.